film begins with John Chapman, a former U.S. Marine who is battling post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD). He drinks heavily while thinking about his fallen comrades. In despair, he plays Russian roulette with a handgun, planning to end his life. However, he survives because the gun is empty. The next scene takes place in a convenience store. John stands at the liquor shelf, trying to drown his pain with alcohol. Suddenly, two armed robbers storm in. One points a gun at John, but the former Marine shows no fear. Instead, he grabs the weapon, puts the barrel in his mouth, and dares the robber to pull the trigger. Shocked by John's reckless act, the robber freezes, while his partner urges him to shoot. With his Marine instincts, John fights off both robbers, recovers the stolen money, and gives it back to the store owner. But when he returns home, his inner struggle continues. Haunted by PTSD, he wakes in the night, breathing heavily, and throws himself into intense workouts to escape his thoughts. A sudden knock at the door startles him. When he opens it, he finds his sister, Cindy. They sit together at the dinner table, sharing a rare moment of warmth as a family. The next day, Cindy finds out that John has not been taking his PTSD medication. When she asks about it, he brushes it off, saying he is fine and admits he hates the pills. Then he turns the question on her, asking if she is okay. Cindy insists she is, but her uneasy body language shows the truth. She is hiding insecurities and worries she cannot disguise. The next day, Cindy boards a flight back to Brazil. The story then shifts to a beach, where a child from the slums leads two police officers, including Katerina, to a horrifying scene. They find Cindy badly beaten and covered in blood, but still alive. Katerina quickly calls for an ambulance to take her to the hospital. At the same time, John gets a call from Ridley, a fellow veteran and former teammate, who tells him about the attack. The news fills Joan with rage. John immediately travels to Brazil. In the next scene, Katerina is giving out soft drinks to people in the slums when sudden gunfire erupts. She and her partner rush toward the noise and find Detectives Santo and Baroro arresting a group of suspects. But the situation quickly spirals out of control as the crowd reacts with anger. Soon, the officers are surrounded and tensions rise when people in the slums point their guns at the police. Santo proposes a deal. Each side will pick their best fighter. If the police lose, they must leave and release the arrested suspects. But if the police win, they will return until Cindy's attacker is found. The agreement sets up a tense showdown between Detective Carlos Baroro and the slum's strongest fighter. With his superior skills, Baroro wins with ease. Before leaving, Santo assures the crowd that the police will come back to finish their mission. John meets with Manny and Santo, and they decide he should work with Detective Katerina to investigate the case. Later, John goes to the hospital to visit Cindy. When he enters her room, he notices an Asian nurse, giving her an IV injection with a suspicious drug. He stays quiet at first, but moments later Cindy suffers violent seizures. Doctors rush in and manage to stabilize her. When John asks about the nurse, the staff insists that no Asian nurse works at the hospital. This makes it clear that someone tried to harm Cindy as part of a larger plot. John goes to the spot where Cindy was found and starts investigating. He notices a young man hanging around wearing a necklace that he recognizes as his sister's. Suspicious, John asks where he got it. Before the young man can explain, a fight breaks out with some locals. When things calm down, the truth comes out. The young man, named Keika, is someone Cindy once helped in the slums. The necklace wasn't stolen. It was a gift from Cindy to Keika as a sign of gratitude and friendship. John receives Cindy's diary but notices that several pages have been torn out. Determined to find answers, he uses sandpaper to uncover the faint impressions left behind. From this, he discovers a mysterious phone number. John calls it and sets up a meeting with a man named Bruno. During their talk, Bruno reveals that Cindy had been secretly investigating the disappearance of sex workers in the slums, using the connections she built while working there. She arranged a meeting with someone who could shed light on the whole affair. At the same time, she asked Bruno, a photographer she had worked with before, to take pictures of the meeting. Bruno revealed that he had given the original photos to Cindy, but kept the copies for his own safety. However, John stole them. As Bruno got into the car suddenly exploded, injuring John nearby. Near the scene, he was surprised to see an Asian woman who looked exactly like the nurse. She escaped in a car, even though John tried to chase her. During the pursuit, he was ambushed by a group of armed attackers. John fought back with all his skill, forcing the gunman to retreat. Later, he and Manny examined the photos John had managed to save. As they studied them, they began to suspect that the Yakuza were involved in the case. They went to a nightclub tied to the Yakuza to track down the man from the photos, who had been seen making a deal with Cindy. Inside, John confronted him directly. The man, known as DJ Lima, admitted he was a smuggler. He explained that Cindy had caught him during a transaction and had questioned him about it. They go to a Yakuza-affiliated nightclub to investigate the man in the photos who was caught red-handed dealing with Cindy. When he enters the nightclub, John decides to confront the man, DJ Lima, directly. Lima admits he is a smuggler and says Cindy caught him in the act, then confronts him about it. Unfortunately for Cindy, Lima's client had also been watching and might have been the one behind her attack. Lima gave John information about where to find this client, so John decided to investigate further with Manny. Meanwhile, Santo led a violent raid on the slums, hunting down wanted criminals. His team of assassins carried out a brutal massacre, killing many people without mercy. Following Lima's directions, John arrived at a luxurious mansion and was stunned by its overwhelming display of wealth. Inside, he saw people who clearly belonged to the highest levels of society, men and women with great influence. Among them, he recognized the powerful Asian woman he had seen before. A guard then escorted John to the back balcony, where he witnessed a black truck arrive, unloading several young girls who were being taken into the mansion. Among the girls, John was stunned to recognize Maria, Kaka's sister. Just then, a guard attacked him, but John used his marine training to quickly overpower the man. Meanwhile, in the slums, a police officer noticed a Japanese man getting ready to board a black truck. Sensing something suspicious, the officer ordered him to stop and immediately called for backup. Santo and Baroro arrived just as the police were reporting the situation. Without warning, Santo aimed his gun at a young officer and shot him in the head, shocking everyone. The truth was then revealed. Santo and Baroro were secretly working with the Japanese woman who had tried to kill Cindy. In a shocking twist, it became clear that Santo's raid was never about stopping criminals. Instead, it was a cover to silence anyone who might give Cindy information about their sex trafficking ring. The Yakuza had hired Santo to erase any leads that might expose their operation. The Japanese woman told him his payment would be waiting at the dock. Meanwhile, at the villa, guards chased John after he discovered where the kidnapped victims were being held. At the same time, the ruthless boss, Haramoto, ordered the Yakuza woman to finish her mission at the hospital by killing Cindy. At the same time, Haramoto coldly interrogated Lima before killing him with a sword. He then turned to Santo and Baroro, telling them that John was disrupting his operations. The two detectives quickly promised to handle the problem. Meanwhile, at the brothel, John was cornered by the guards. But with his combat skills, he swiftly turned the fight around and defeated them. Santo and Baroro soon arrived, and John tried to explain what was happening. Santo was ready to kill him, but Katarina and her team appeared just in time to stop the betrayal. John then led them to the room where the children were being held, only to find it completely empty. At that moment, Santo turned to John and demanded that he hand over the sensitive shipping documents in his possession. John agreed to cooperate, not yet knowing about Santo's ties to the Yakuza. But as he left the hotel, he began to sense a plot and realized Santo was involved. He decided to follow and trailed the detective to the docks. Meanwhile, a Yakuza assassin tried to kill Cindy, but Officer Katarina arrived just in time to save her. At the docks, John discovered a group of mercenaries, among them Santo, Baroro, and Haramoto, preparing to ship goods to Japan. John quickly called Manny Ridley to update him on the situation and ask for support. He warned the police not to use the radio, fearing that Santo was a double agent. Then, John entered the warehouse and was confronted by a group of thugs. Using his combat skills, he fought them off and took each one down. Moments later, Santo and Baroro attacked him. In the fight, John managed to trap Santo under a pile of crates, leaving him helpless. Soon after, John confronted Baroro, a highly dangerous opponent. Their fight was intense, filled with brutal exchanges between the detective and the former Marine. Baroro showed great strength and agility, but John's determination gave him the edge, and he finally brought Baroro down. Just then, Santo broke free and rushed at John, but the seasoned soldier quickly overpowered him with ease. Both Baroro and Santo got back on their feet at the same time. As John kept his eyes on them, Haramoto suddenly attacked from behind. John narrowly dodged the swing of his sword, then countered with a swift strike at all three opponents. A brutal fight erupted, with the three men attacking him together and pushing him into a corner. Despite the danger, John fought back fiercely. He landed a series of crushing punches on Santo, breaking his ribs. At the same time, he drove Santo's knife into Baroro's leg, knocking him off balance. John then faced Haramoto in a one-on-one fight. Using his Marine training, he armed himself with 2 ceramic rods and battled fiercely against the Yakuza boss, who fought with the skill of a seasoned swordsman. Haramoto managed to strike John once, but John quickly regained control and forced him to his knees. Desperate, Haramoto pulled out a gun and fired, mocking John by saying his sister had resisted more fiercely. The cruel words filled John with rage. Enraged, John unleashed a flurry of lightning-fast strikes on Haramoto. When the Yakuza boss tried to rise, John showed no mercy and shot him repeatedly until he fell. Before dying, Santo insisted he had nothing to do with the attack on Cindy. He gave John a key containing vital evidence against the organization. In his final moments, Santo asked for a gun to take his own life. John agreed, and with support from the Marines, he rescued the kidnapped victims and brought them to safety. When the police arrived, they found Cindy awake and recovering. Her head injury was serious, and doctors warned it would take years to heal. Later, at a coffee shop, Ridley suggested that John take a position as a special agent with the Department of State. John accepted, knowing it would give him the chance to serve while the government helped care for his sister.